All right, welcome to the second episode of the Elk Hunter webinar series for 2023. So again, we did this webinar series last year and had some pretty great feedback from it. So we're going to continue. The theme's going to be much of the same. We're going to try to make the Kentucky Elk Hunters more successful. So we hope you're able to tune in to the first episode. It's basically where Joe took us through the first steps to do after the draw. That's an important one. So if you're jumping on with us today, it might be worth hitting the pause button and checking up on that first video, just to we'll be talking about a couple things that we've described thoroughly in that first episode. So also remember, all of our webinars, these can be found on your My Profile link on the elk hunting page, and also on YouTube. So if you find them, if you get to them from your My Profile page and you're watching them on YouTube, hit the subscribe button and you'll get notifications of when these new videos pop up. Additionally, as we go through the summer, we'll be emailing our elk hunters and just sending them notifications when new videos get popped up. So as with all the videos, if you've got additional questions, Joe and I's contact information, our office phone and email will be at the end. Let us know what you guys want to hear us talk about. Also, let us know if you've got any questions from that particular episode. If it's something of interest to a lot of people, we will probably address it in the next episode. So again, we are lucky tonight. We're joined by Donald Thomas. He's the president of the Kentucky Elk Guides Association. I've known Donald for a number of years, and we've been able to been lucky enough to have him on here to talk. He was on here last year, and I think that was a really valuable episode, especially right now. This is the first week we've got, everybody knows that they've been drawn, and there's a number of things you got to jump on early in the game. And I think if you're interested in the guide, and I think Donald will agree with me, got to be jumping on that early. If you're kind of on the fence, call them and talk to them. So we'll discuss that as we get through it. But so again, I'm your host, John Hast. I'm the Bear and Elk Program Coordinator. We've also got with us Joe McDermott, who's an elk biologist in the elk program. He did a lot of talking last week. And so our guest today again is Donald Thomas, who is the Kentucky Elk Guides president. And we'll hold while he answers the phone. But either way, and Joe, I mean, throw something out here. I feel like this is an important thing to be thinking about early in the game. I mean, this episode's likely going to air sometime the first week that hunters know they're drawn. We did that for a reason, is to get this information out there early so they can jump on the if you're on the fence about getting a guide, best thing you can do is call and talk to them.
Yeah, of course. There's actually, there's a limited number of outfitters and guides in Kentucky. That means there's a limited number of spots. If it's something you're interested in doing, it's definitely worthwhile taking the time to make some phone calls and have some conversations with these folks pretty early in the process.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's back.
See, the phone's already ringing off the hook.
Phone's already ringing. Oh my gosh, here goes. All right, I'll get prepared.
Oh, it's funny. And so, I mean, I think everybody understands that this Zoom format is one of those things. I think I said last year that it took a global pandemic to get us to figure out how to do something that we can do pretty simply, pretty quickly. I mean, obviously this is kind of rough, but we're getting info out there, and everybody seemed to enjoy it last year. So with that, if Donald's ready, buddy, I'll let you introduce yourself. Tell us, obviously you're the KEGA president, but your particular guiding and outfitting business, and then we'll jump into some questions.
I think I'm ready, John.
Good deal.
I appreciate the invite, and I think I'm ready here. I've got all the phones muted and turned off, I believe. But as John said, my name is Donald Thomas. I am the president of the Kentucky Elk Guide Association. Also, the owner and operator of Kentucky Bulls and Beards Guide Service. I've been guiding elk hunters here in this wonderful state for probably over 15 plus years now.
Good deal.
All right.
Well, if you're ready, we're just going to kind of pitch this back and forth. I know Joe and I both got a couple of questions for you and some stuff that's just come up kind of on our end of things that we think hunters would appreciate, more or less having cleared up, or at least having a discussion about.
I'm fire away, gentlemen. I'm ready.
Joe, I'll pitch it to you first.
All right. So I guess what I want to start with is just give our hunters an understanding of what the Kentucky Elk Guide Association is. When was it formed? What are the major reasons behind its formation? And then what sets a KEGA member apart from like just any other guide or outfitter service out there?
All right, Joe. KEGA was actually formed in January of 2019. There was some of us elder guides, you could say, that has done this for quite some while. We had decided to get together and try to form this guides association where we could offer quality professional guides to these hunters. That's our main goal right now, is to offer professionalism in this guide service to the hunters, and also for the conservation of this elk that we have in Kentucky.
All righty. So I guess just to get started, because the biggest question I get the first 2 weeks, other than where can I find a 400-inch bull tied to a tree, is where do I actually find a list of KEGA members? Where can I go to find, who's available to help me with my elk hunt?
All right. As far as that answer, you can go to the KEGA Facebook page, and on the top link, you can click on featured items. There's a Google document on there that will have an updated list of the guides that are members of KEGA. It may be updated monthly. We get new guides come in. We got a couple of new ones last year, but that's where you can primarily find that list.
All right. And I think actually at the end of the episode, we'll try to have a screenshot up that'll show you guys where. Yeah, here we go. John's got it up right now. It'll show you guys kind of what to look for on their Facebook page.
Yeah, I will say there. What did you say that was under the features link on?
Yeah, at the top. Yeah, at the top. When you go on the actual page on the home page, you'll see a link up there for featured items, and just click on that feature, and it will bring up those Google Docs.
Yeah, and so that's got basically a list of all your current members. So current, licensed guides. We've got an application, so I guess anybody can be a KEGA member. Is that correct?
You can. We have two. Well, we actually have got 3 different types of memberships, but just for the general members are only licensed guides in the state of Kentucky. And the associate members, anyone can join on that one there.
Okay. And then one thing I saw that I think was really handy last year was this Q&A for elk hunters.
Yeah, we do have that up there. That's some questions that we get answered asked every year that we've tried to post some answers for.
Yeah, that's kind of a big part of this conversation too, right? We want, we want to help our hunters in this process, but let's try to give them some information on, what are the right types of things that we should be talking about when we're contacting one of you guys. Let's try to have our conversations be meaningful and productive.
Yeah, that segues really well into kind of my first question. Donald, what are your recommendations for hunters when they actually contact a KEGA guide? And I'm thinking along the lines of what type of questions to be, that they should be asking. Just stuff like, you gonna hunt public or private? What's your hunting style? I think that's very important, especially for people with some mobility issues or people that haven't been in the mountains. Other stuff like, will I actually be with you? Will I be with a guide you're associated with? Those kind of things. And then secondly, if on the end of that, kind of speak to, are you or are some of the guys expecting payment up front for this info? Or are we having a, kind of like test driving a car? You're just having a conversation to see if things jive and you want to spend the money and go with this guide or outfitter.
Well, those are all great questions, but the one that I would hit on right now, it It does not cost you a dime to talk to a guide. Some of our guides, do charge a fee, some consulting fees or something. If so, you can contact. There's several guides on that. Personally, myself, if you want to call me, it will not cost you a dime to talk to me on the telephone. But obviously, the first question I would tell the hunters to ask, and if they've got it from the guides list, is are they a member of KEGA? If not, as you were saying with helpers, some of the guides and outfitters out there do have helpers. I would ask, to speak with the person that I thought I would be hunting with and whether they are a member. That would be some of my primary questions. And then overall questions, just how many years experience do they have? Because we have some relatively new guides. How many years experience? Um, Overall success rate in your guiding, not with just within the past year or two, but overall over the past years. Um, some of them they consider success as a harvest, or they consider it as a shot opportunity. If they tell you it's a shot opportunity, what does the guide consider a shot opportunity? Because it may be entirely different from what the hunters consider.
Mm-hmm.
That would be some of the questions I would bring up. Um, and that most of it will be, what type of hunt do you offer? Do you do the transportation? You're going to get a variety: transportation, recovery. Do you offer meals, lodging? And it's going to be widespread. There'll be a variety of that out there offered. And the other one would be the type of hunt. Is it a one-on-one hunt? Is it a group hunt? Are you going to drop me off somewhere a hunt? Is it going to be a semi-guided hunt? That would be something. What to expect, as you were saying there. A lot of people get overwhelmed on the terrain. Ask them, what about the terrain? What type of terrain? What kind of physical requirements? What kind of weather should I expect? What kind of needs would I need to bring along myself? And then you can get to the cost. That will vary also. That will go from one end to the other. References, I would say definitely get references. I would get them from any source that I could find them. The guides may have a list of references, but you could go on farther and just check as many references as you can on the guides.
That's something. I'm sorry to interrupt you. That's something that you guys kind of offer on the KEGA Facebook page all throughout the process, right? Because you've got, all these people have Facebook accounts. They'll join the association's Facebook page. That's how they're learning about stuff. But then you've got not just this year's hunters, but hunters from the past that are in there as well, who might be able to offer some experiences.
Yes, and that would be one thing that I would definitely push here, is that we do have a feedback page on that Google Documents on our Facebook page where any hunter or individual can go in there and give feedback. We're asking for that. We want all the feedback we can get, good, bad. I had a great hunt, I had a worse hunt, just whatever they can give. But we need all of that we can get from the hunters. We would really appreciate that. Any of the hunters that go with a KEGA member, a guide as a KEGA member, is to give us the feedback, good or bad. We want it all.
Yep, that makes sense, and it makes that's really, I feel like your best info comes from somebody that's a past hunter that's been with you.
Yes, and we can learn a lot. We can learn a lot from the feedbacks on what we may need to change in the future, and we can pass it on to everyone. It may be one certain individual may need to correct something, but that's something that all of us may need to correct, and we can learn from it. So, we really, really would like to have the feedback.
For sure. Absolutely. So let's dig in just a little bit more about the services they can expect. And, one of the big things, I guess, when hunters called Joe and I, their seemingly number one concern for at least having a relationship with a guide and outfitter is actually getting that elk out of the woods. Just as I think we both know that can be handled, but having that insurance policy, like I know that I'm gonna have somebody with me that knows the mountains, that's gonna be able to get a vehicle in there, get that elk out of the woods, and that's one thing I can kind of take off my mind. But just talk a little bit more about kind of how the services differ in terms of fully guided, semi-guided, you know, and then we've also got some people that are, whether you call it a consultation fee or otherwise, are helping you with, you know, the area draw, that kind of stuff. Just talk about services that are kind of offered across the board.
Yeah, most of the services, you know, they do fully guided hunts, but then again, fully guided, find out what kind of hunt that's going to be. Make sure it's a one-on-one or, you know, or a group hunt. Just ask, hey, if it's a fully guided hunt, what type of hunt we're going to be on. Some of them semi-guided hunts. They'll take you and show you the area, and that would pretty well be the extent of it. You know, you get your area because a lot of people, when they get drawn, I know it's going to be overwhelming, but they don't realize how much vast area there is out there to cover. The
Yep.
guides, some of them will take you out and show you that area and get you familiar with your area before the hunt. And that is the extent of that service. Some of them will offer you a 3-day hunt to 5-day hunt. It varies. I was just trying to think some more of them, like on the consulting fees. Some of them will help you out with that. All I will speak out here and say almost every one of the guides, if you book a hunt with them, they will help you along in the process on unit selection and what would be required and needed of you to get to that hunt. They will help you out with all that. Some of them that's doing the consulting and doing the packets, they're just giving you the information to help you out. And whether you hunt with them after that point, I cannot say on that. How much farther the extent of those services go, I really have no idea.
Yeah, and that rolls right into kind of Joe's next question with the unit selection, which our next episode will be going into extreme detail on, just kind of talking about that whole process. But prior to that, I mean, thinking from a financial standpoint, there's likely a price difference in the type of services that are offered. And I think that's something important for a hunter on a budget. They might be able to still go with a guide, but it might not include, you know, a mountain chalet and a dinner or something like that. You know what I'm saying? They might be staying at the Hampton in Hazard, but from what I know, all of that across the board is offered, where even somebody that might be a little, you know, have to think about the budget that they're going to spend on this elk hunt might actually be able to work something out where they're on a guided hunt. They're just not getting all the bells and whistles that might come with the full price package, you know.
And that's true. And something else to throw in there that I'd just forgotten about, you know, like myself, if I book a hunter for, say, a 5-day gun hunt or firearms hunt, if they harvest the first day, some of these guides offer a daily rate after that. I mean, you can have a daily hunt.
Yep.
That would be an affordable hunt for them.
Right. And we see that a lot of times, you know, especially hunters that we were working with, that I guess it's a good thing to remind the hunters, is just because maybe somebody's booked up, that there's not an opportunity during that week of bull season, if, you know, somebody's killed out, that a spot can open, and then you know, pay that daily rate, and that's, you know, see what happens.
So. Yeah. That's another option, which is a great option. I generally have one or so every year that we do that with.
Yeah. Yep. Makes sense. I'll let Joe, I know Joe's got a question about, you know, kind of what you touched on there, suggestions for unit selections and that kind of stuff, how that's handled when you're working with a guide. I'll let him roll into that one.
Yeah, so you kind of mentioned it a little bit already, Donald, but it's such an important part of the process. I feel like it bears reiterating. But obviously, if you're planning to use an outfitter, you know, you guys are going to have suggestions for them regarding their selections they make on their My Profile, right? Like, you know, you need to consult with your outfitter before you're making your elk hunting unit or regulated area selections. So, like, how does that process work? Do all of the KEGA members do that for other hunters, or is it kind of vary across the board?
I would think that the majority of the KEGA members will help that hunter pick their unit selection. I personally myself, let's say you've been drawn, you're gonna do a guided hunt. You've got the funding, you've already decided I'm going to do a guide. contact them immediately. Immediately start on that process. Once you get in touch with your guide, talk to the guide you're going to be hunting with. That guide, most of these guides, they hunt in certain units. That's where they prefer to hunt, and they will guide that hunter and tell them, pick this unit, 1 through 5. There's 5 selections. They will lead them and tell them how to do that. And some of them will even do it for them, put it in their profile for them, and enter their units that they wish to choose.
All right. I guess to build on this, we talked about it. The outfitters have, places that they prefer to hunt over others. What happens if you say, I book a hunt with you knowing where you like to hunt, and we end up in a unit that you don't really know that well? How does that work?
Well, we've been dealing with that issue for the last couple of years. Most of the guides will book the hunters early in, like the first week or so after the draw, and just pretty much take a gamble on getting one of the 5 units that they selected. If you do not, in the past, we as an association, as guides working together, have moved some hunters around. Hey, I've got a hunter in your unit, and we will send that person to that guide. That has been done in the past. Since the unit selection is like what, 1st of July, some may wait until the 1st of July and book their hunters after they have got a unit already chosen. And that way, when they call, they can say, hey, I've got this unit. Well, I can help you, or I can help you.
Yep. But that also speaks to the, just the fact that the KEGA members do, help out that hunter that might get, maybe they don't draw your units, but they've drawn somebody else's units, different part of the elk zone. There is that interchange, and it always seems to work out just fine.
Yeah.
We all try to work together on that.
Mm-hmm. Good deal.
While we're thinking about it, before we take it a little bit further, I want to go back and think about, we're talking about the different services that people are offering. A question that I get quite often that I really don't have a good answer to give hunters is, what kind of rates can we expect, right? Like, I know it's going to be different if you're doing a 3-day hunt or a 5-day hunt or one-on-one, but a lot of people ask me, I've got an archery tag. How much is this going to cost me? Can you just give just some general estimates maybe? And then another question that I do get asked quite a bit is, are there members of KEGA who offer reduced rates for youth or military veterans or disabled hunters, anything like that? We're just trying to give people kind of a range of things that they should expect, when having their conversations with you all.
Well, Joe, they do offer some of that. On the average, from what I have seen, of course, you got to consider all the gas prices and stuff this year. I don't know if anyone's had any price increases, but I'll give you an average. It's probably around $3,500, and that could
for a bull or a cow, or is that just your general average?
On average for a bull, and the cows are generally less than the bull hunts, some considerably, but just on a bull hunt, that would be a good average to start at, and then it would vary to what is being offered: lodging, meals, 3 days, 5 days, and it will be higher or lower, but that would be an average that I would start off at. And that's something I'll throw this in here that we get as guides. Everyone thinks, well, they're money hungry out, just making a killing off this. We have a lot of expenses: fuel, wear and tear on vehicles, liability insurance. Some of us that have leases, we've got leases. I mean, there is a lot of overhead in that. I just like to kind of put that out there.
Oh, I think it's a great point to make, because, me, or, as a general hunter who's never been on a guided hunt, right? That's a big sticker shock at the beginning, but you start thinking about even, your own expenses while you go scouting or hunting. I took my dad on an elk hunt in Kentucky, 2016, I think it was. I had both the actuators blow out the front end of my truck. You know, like there's a lot of stuff that just happens. You know, it's a big expense.
Oh yeah, I usually go through 2 sets of tires, 4 sets of brake shoes, and then some bearings and shocks and all. Every year, those haul roads will take care of a vehicle for you. But I'll just kind of put it out there, even for the do-it-yourself hunter. I have had hunters in the past that come down. You figure say you're 5-hour drive from your hunting area. You make several trips over here scouting. You get a motel. You spend your gas. I've had them in the past, actually spend more than what the guide service would have cost them. And then they call you the last day. Hey, can you help me out here? So, I mean, there is a big expense in it either way.
Yep.
All right.
I'm with
well, thank you for clarifying that. I said we didn't really get to touch on it, and I know it's something that's worth you guys getting to talk about.
Yeah. So I've got a question for you, and this is something that I think we're gonna, at least I would like to sort of harp on more through these webinar series, is just the expectations. So, what should, number one, what should people expect? And then number two, what recommendations do you have for them that's going to make their hunt a more enjoyable experience when they get there?
Expectations. I can tell you what I guarantee them myself. I guarantee them that we're going to hunt hard and they're going to sleep good at night. No, what they should do on some preparedness, honestly, and expectations when they come to the hunt. Bring a good attitude with you. Come to hunt. Don't, it's not always all about the kill. Come and enjoy it. And if you've never been over in the mountains in Eastern Kentucky, come and enjoy the scenery. I mean, make a good time out of it and have a good hunt. And something we run into quite regularly is physical demands. Prepare for this hunt, especially archery. Archery, you may walk 10 miles a day over there in archery season, up and down mountains. A lot of people, if they've never been over in the eastern part of the state in the mountains, they get shocked when they get there. I mean, they're just like, oh no, I didn't even know Kentucky had this.
Oh yeah. I can't tell you how many times I've heard people call them hills. So you walk to the top of it. I promise you it's a mountain.
And that's definitely, we're going to have a webinar episode on just some physical fitness. And I'll throw this out there. So Joe and I have applied for some elk units in Colorado, and we were busy and a little bit behind the curve and ended up applying for a unit that's mostly at 10,000 feet. So for all the hunters out there that are going to be trying to get in gear to come hike, Joe and I are going to be doing the same thing, because this, and it'll be very, it's similar preparation. I mean, there is nothing steeper, especially those areas that you hunt down there. It's a hill, but it's a hill that is on about an 89-degree angle, and you'll be hunting elk right on the side of it. So I think, and I definitely appreciate the fact you keyed on the positive attitude. I mean, I like to think my attitude's positive, but some of the least positive times in my life have been on a hunting adventure. And it just, there's something about it that it starts working on you. It might be rainy, the weather might be bad, the turkeys might not be gobbling, whatever it is. Seems to creep in on you a little faster there than it does at work or at home or something like that. But so I certainly appreciate you hitting on that one. So one of the things that we're also going to try to highlight, and we've got a really good episode coming up, talking about archery hunting specifically, but just, kind of the theme of these first couple episodes is, here's stuff you've really got to start thinking about now. It's kind of one of those things. This summer's going to fly by. Doesn't matter what you're doing this summer. It always seems like the summers fly by. Hunting season's here before you know it, and you're behind the curve. I've personally been in that situation on a couple of trips that we've done. But my favorite topic, and it's one as a sort of late in life bow hunter, is broadhead choice? And I know we had a good conversation. He's shaking his head. And we'll talk about this more on the archery end of things. I was kind of a late in life bow hunter, but my main reason for wanting to do it is to go out west and be able to get an over the counter tag and actually elk hunt on a regular basis. And I was right in the middle of last summer. I was in that conundrum of expandable or fixed. And so again, when you're thinking about bows, you don't want to get this stuff figured out 1st of September. You want to have it, figured out this week and be thinking, or at least be working towards sort of the final gear, the final setup. But so throw us out there what you think, and then I'll be sure to bring this up on our archery episode.
How about I lead into it with this? I'll just kind of go over everything you've done. On the good attitude, the KEGA guides are there for your success. If you're not being successful, they feel worse than you ever imagined than you are. After about the 3rd day of hunting, everyone is grouchy and hateful and having a bad time. That's when you have to really struggle to make the best of it. As far as your archery, I've only got one comment: fixed blade broadheads. Fixed blade broadheads.
Understandable.
I'm not an expandable fan. Early in, I have seen several elk that just kind of walked off with an expandable arrow just hanging down that just penetrated the skin. I mean, I've got more horror stories than I do success stories with an expandable.
Yeah. And certainly, I mean, don't take my opinion on it. I mean, you've probably seen, you and the other guides across there have seen more elk be successfully taken than anybody else you can think of in Kentucky. So I think that, that opinion is very valid. So
what a lot of hunters don't realize that we get, a lot of the drone hunters, the majority of them are not elk hunters, that may be their first time.
mm-hmm.
They do not realize the size of these animals to start with and how tough these animals are. Yep. That is one issue. And like you was bringing up, summer's going to fly by. When you get drawn, you're getting drawn, and you picked your unit selections. Whatever equipment you're going to hunt with, practice. I mean, every time you get the opportunity, practice. And just don't go out there and shoot a block target in the backyard. Set it up different scenarios. Set it out in the woods. Get down on your knees, because you never know when it's shot opportunity what position you're going to be in. I mean, climbing one of those hills, you may be laying on your belly there, and he come above you. Yep. Yeah, the practice. And I'll just throw something else in there, what I kind of recommend to all my hunters. On the archery, I tell them to try to be confident at 50 yards with archery. One of the main reasons, even on some of these strips, you get out in the wide open, bull elk steps out, they're going to look at him and say, hey, he's 30 yards. And then you range him, he's 52. Just the size difference will really throw you off on the yardage. As far as the firearm hunters, I tell them, be confident at 300. We may never take that shot. But that's something that could occur. But what you get a lot of is your yardage distance, especially in the open on the strips. I play a game with a lot of my hunters. We'll be out there, and if we're rifle hunting, I'll say, you see that rock over there? How far is that? They'll guess, and I'll say double it, and you'll be close, and then we range it, and it's usually close to double what you guess. Yep. That's something I would really stress for there, is just practicing on your yardages.
Yeah, and with any elk hunt in Kentucky, you might go from timber you can't see 5 feet in front of you to a place you can see 2,000 yards. One step in and out of the wood line.
We've had it both ways. We've shot them at 50 yards at archery, and we've shot them at 5 feet. So, I mean,
yep,
it could go either way, but you need to be prepared for either scenario.
For sure. So, Joe, you got any other questions in mind? If not, I was going to tell Donald to like, what have we missed? What's some big standout items that we might have missed?
Yeah, I think we've got a pretty good basics, covered right now. So that was actually what I was going to ask, the same thing. Okay. Now's your chance. Anything else our hunters might need to know to have good productive conversations with you and your members, you know, when they're moving forward throughout this process?
I would just, you know, immediately when you find out you've been drawn, don't panic. Don't get in a panic in a frenzy, but contact some of the guides. Go get the list. Contact the guides. Speak with the guide that you're going to be hunting with. Ask them all the questions we mentioned, and just have confidence in your guide. Let them do your unit selection. They're going to help you along through it. And after your hunt, fill out that feedback form. I mean, just we need the feedback. It's going to help everyone in the long run on that.
Yep.
Other than that, there's probably a lot more. I just have to jar my mind.
No, I mean, I think this is good, right? I mean, you touched on earlier, the majority of our hunters every year are not elk hunters. They've never done it, right? And a lot of these people have never been on a guided hunt. So, you know, just having the basics like this, how to even find you guys and have good productive conversations. I mean, it goes a long way to help our guys be successful and happy as they move throughout the summer.
Absolutely. And if Joe and I are hearing a question that continually comes up, we'll be in contact and we'll try to get that answered on one of these webinars. If we're continually getting the same couple questions, we'll shout at you.
Biggest thing is don't guide your guide. Have confidence in them. You know, even when you're out there, say archery hunting, and he's calling the bull in, most of the guides will tell you when to shoot, when not to shoot, because just a quartering angle either way could be a hit and a loss. You know, but that's one thing to remember. Just keep confidence in your guide and have a good relationship with them.
Yep, absolutely. So number one, if you're interested in the guide, check out the KEGA Facebook page. They're going to find the full, complete list of all the guides and outfitters on there. And then also check out that Q&A document. I know that answered several questions for me last summer when y'all got that put up. I'll go ahead and jump back in. I'll share that again. So here, basically, KEGA Facebook page. I think you can usually search KEGA in Facebook, but if not, Kentucky Elk Guide Association. And that's where you'll want to look, check out the guides that are offered. And again, you know, the drawn people are out there. Your phone was already ringing off the hook earlier in this episode, so they'll be blowing it up. So if you're thinking about it, get on, make some calls for sure. So I'm also at the end of every one of these webinars that we do, we'll have Joe and I's contact info up. So we'll let that sit up there for a couple of minutes as we kind of close things out here. Call us. We're in the office quite a bit this time of the year. Leave us a voicemail for sure. When you call, throw us a couple questions out there. That always helps us get prepared for when you when we call you back, we're not starting from square one. And then also shoot us an email. That works out real well too. So we are here to answer questions. We've got two other elk biologists that work in the program that we'll introduce as we get through this. And you may end up talking with one of them early on, but anything right now, just shout at Joe and I. So Donald, thanks again. This is the second year. I feel like the second year that we've spoken to you. I feel like it's been a big help to have you on here to just kind of walk through. These are questions that we get, and Joe and I weren't really prepared to answer them. And so this has certainly helped us out as well. I would like to remind everybody. So the first episode, we kind of went through the nuts and bolts of the My Profile system. So, you know, you've been drawn, kind of the first place you need to go to verify. Yeah, I've been drawn. Here's the tag I've got. Ton of information on there. Read through that. I mean, it's probably, I would say collectively, it's a couple hours of looking. You know, when you're sitting down in the evening, pull it up on your phone, look through that info. That's really great. Next week, we will talk about the area draw in detail. I know we've been getting some questions on what that is. We're going to talk about that in detail, not only, you know, what it means, but also how to get in that My Profile system and make those draw selections prior to July 1. So I think we've got a good lineup of webinars this year. We'll be moving through. We're kind of still in that stage of early in the draw, talking about kind of the nuts and bolts of stuff. We'll get in more to how to hunt, how to prepare for the hunt. Got a great episode on archery hunting, a great episode on how to set your gun up and gun hunting for elk. So we'll get to that as the summer rolls on. As always, if there's a topic that you're interested in, let us know. We're either going to be covering it or we'll try to thread it in somewhere. So Donald or Joe, either one of y'all got anything to close things out?
I'm good, man. I really appreciate you joining us today. Like I said, like he already mentioned, we get a lot of these questions, and the goal here is to help the hunters and help both of our groups move forward. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'll add to that. They can call upon KEGA guides at any time just for information, helpful information. There's a list of them. If you don't get the satisfied answer with the first one, call the next one. They'll all probably have a different answer. But yeah, that's what the guides are here for, is to help these hunters out. Give any of them a call at any time. Well, other than midnight, I'll be in bed. Don't call me at midnight. I'll be hateful.
There you go. You got a loud enough phone in there, it'd probably wake you up.
Then I'll be hateful.
All right. Well, be sure to tune in next week. Again, we appreciate it. Give us any feedback, and certainly, Donald, we appreciate you taking your time out of the middle of the day here to talk with us. So thank you.
Well, thank you all for having me. I really appreciate it.
All right. Appreciate it.